The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, presented by Lazy Boy. What is your strategy for comfort?
And Teoscar, first ball, rips it toward the Crawford boxes. It's up and it's in there. A home run for Teoscar Hernandez on the first pitch of the top of the eighth.
3-1 pitch. Swinging. There's a shot. Deep left center field. That's going to be a run. Goodbye!
Part of this job for me is to keep everybody engaged and ready. With South Sudan, it's more about the speed, and speed is a killer.
I get in trouble every time I make comparisons. Okay, I do get in trouble. And of course, we saw a head-to-head match with Green Bay last year. We've all got that burr in our saddle. I'm anxious for Dwight to get a chance to show he's the best with the Cowboy star on.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad starts now.
All right, what's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive with the Godfather, Dwight, Jaynes, and Chad Doing. A pleasure to be with you. We got a big show lined up today. Coming up in 20 minutes, our man Brett Ciancia from Pick Six Previews will join the show. His college football preview is out, so we'll get his take on the Big Ten, the Oregon Ducks, how they shape up in the playoff race, who's going to win the Big 12, who's going to win the SEC, and ultimately who is going to win the national championship. So Brett Ciancia, Godfather, going to join us coming up at 3:20. And then at 4:20, we'll check in on 49ers camp down in San Francisco. Evan Giddings, a good friend of our show from 95.7 The Game, will join us. We'll get the latest on Brandon Ayuk and the holdout there. We'll find out about Brock Purdy and his incoming contract, which, based on the market, is going to be substantial. When you look around at some of the money that these guys are getting, Jordan Love, his average per year income, $55 million. Tua, 53.1. And if Purdy puts up another big year like we saw last year where he took his team to the Super Bowl, he will be looking at that 60 to 65 range, just based on market alone.
You know, they're not paying you on what you've done. Now they're paying you on what they think you're going to do.
Yes. That's correct. And these teams, once they get a quarterback and he's productive for a year, or in Jordan Love's case, half a year, they're pretty much locked in. What are your options? You can not pay him and play hardball, which is going to go badly for you as the team. You cannot pay him and hope that he puts up a year that represents the quarterback you think he might be. But the reality is you've got to pay him. Or you can just let him go and then move on and try to find the next quarterback that you think is going to be better. But there's nothing guaranteed there. And that's a hard sell to the fan base when you're coming off a playoff run or a Super Bowl run. It's hard to sell that one to the fans. It's brutal.
Yeah, the quarterbacks have the ability to hold their teams hostage.
Yes.
I mean, what are you going to do? You have to pay up. That's just the way it works. It's just a matter of how quick you pay them. And it looks like the quicker you pay them, the cheaper the price tag may be.
We scoffed at the idea a bit that Brock Purdy, the reports are out that his deal could be somewhere around $65 million per annually.
Yeah.
It's not that crazy because if Tua's making 53.1 and Jordan Love, who's done less, both those quarterbacks have done less, is at 55, what if Purdy puts up another big year this year? And he's taken 2 years at a substantial discount because he's on that rookie deal.
Yeah.
He's not taking any hometown discount.
No,
Get out of here.
He doesn't have to.
No, the agent is going to be like, okay, this guy's making 55, this guy's making 60. We want around 65. And then there you go. All the hopes and dreams you had of building a Super Bowl championship and having all these other bells and whistles on the roster are out the window. That's why it's important that that guy is absolutely a franchise quarterback, because once you commit the boatload of cash, it becomes harder to construct your team around him. Brutal. Brutal.
Yeah, and you talk about Brock Purdy. If you've got another quarterback out there right now who is also in the same situation as him, probably be a good idea to sign him before Brock Purdy signs, or you're probably going to have to go above that contract, right?
Yes, and we're going to hear from Jerry Jones later in the show, but he was asked the perfect question at camp, and he gave no answer because he didn't want to pigeonhole himself in with a quarterback that's up for a contract. And Dak Prescott is not going to take a hometown discount. He's going to make somewhere between $55 and $60 million a year for Dak Prescott. But the Cowboys put themselves in this situation by balking at the idea of signing him when they should have.
Franchised him 2 years in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you get, Jerry. And we love Jerry. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to make fun of him from time to time because he's a little bit different, but we're big fans of Jerry. And you asked me the question before the show. Do you think Jerry Jones, if you could guarantee him a championship, another Lombardi trophy right now at the end of this season, but you said in order to get the trophy, you cannot speak to the media for the entire year. You have to go radio silent.
Yeah.
What would he choose? He's not going to go silent.
No, he can't.
No.
He can't help himself.
No. He is going to chirp, and that's what we want because he's great audio.
That's why we love him.
Yes.
We do make fun of him, and that's why we love him, too.
All right. So we've got that with Evan Giddings at 420, but I want to start out with this. We'll get to the Mariners, too. Jerry DiPoto did what no one thought he could do, and the Mariners revived coming off a series sweep of Chicago. And, yes, we know the White Sox stink, but the Mariners have been losing to everybody. So if you're a Mariner fan today, you got to be feeling pretty good about things, Godfather.
Yeah, for sure. And they made another deal today, a deal that might be under the radar for some people. I think it's a big thing for Seattle.
I'm a big fan of Justin Turner, won a championship with the Dodgers. I like him because he's smart, he's a good hitter, and he's one of those guys at the plate that's very patient. He's not going to swing out of his shoes. He knows what he's looking for, and I think that can bring value to this roster right now.
He's a good on-base guy, that's for sure. He will hit timely home runs. I think he's going to bring that kind of winning attitude to their clubhouse. He's been there and done that, and they need more of that in their clubhouse. They don't have a lot of veteran leadership, it appears, or at least guys who've won before. He can show them the roadmap.
All right, a couple of items to get to. You and I participated in Pup City on Saturday down at the Rose Quarter. The Portland Trailblazers put on a dog walk. It was presented by Tavo. And I got to be honest with you, going into it, I was like, okay, Puppy Shots. Here's the deal, buddy. I love you and you love me. We're best friends. But in order for our friendship to get to the next level, you cannot be a pain in the ass today. He was great from the moment I got up all the way through the event, on the walk, coming back home. It was a perfect day. And he got to mix and mingle with your dog, with Tony and Boring's dog, and many other dogs, and he handled it perfectly and had a blast. And I thought the Blazers did a good job of putting it on. The walk was not too long and overbearing. It was just the right amount, and Shotzers had a blast.
I thought it was a great event. I could not believe how many vendors were there.
Yeah, a ton.
And it's like there's things going on for dogs in Portland I wasn't aware of. There's actually like a food cart for dogs.
Dedicated to just dogs.
Yes. And there are people here in town manufacturing dog food, dog toys, all that stuff, and you get it all there. But, yeah, I was so impressed with both our dogs, our Jack and your Shots. I didn't hear a bark out of either one of them. No whining, no fights. They were just good citizens over at Motor Center. They did their walk. They had a good time. And I don't know what Shots did, but when we got home, old Jack just curled up in bed, took a little nap.
Yeah, it was a little bit too much excitement for Puppy Shots. So when we got home, he took a nice little nap on top of the couch. And he had a great time. When the walk started, Shots was on a mission. He motored around the course, and we finished in record time. And he was right up on Michael Holton's heels the whole way. Holton, former Blazer and current analyst for the team, led the walk. He started it off, and Puppy Shots, he walked straight through the path with no issues whatsoever. That was a great time. So props to the Trailblazers for putting it on. Tony and Boring was down there, had a chance to run into some people, but the weather was perfect.
Chad, what a dog Tony has, huh?
A big dog.
Real big dog.
His dog is like 100 Puppy Shots all wrapped into one.
Yeah. Beautiful dog, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shots checks in at about 11 pounds.
Oh, gosh. This dog is 20 times that. I mean, this dog is huge.
Yes. Yes, it was great. Shots took interest in the BMW that was parked out there. They were showcasing some of the dog carriers and dog car seats that they have. He jumped up in the BMW, wanted to check things out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. But no, it was a good time. And then I believe this weekend, this is pretty cool, but you actually got your grandson Duncan out to his very first baseball game with the Hops. Is that true?
Yeah, Duncan's 11 months old, and we thought it was high time he got to his first baseball game.
Good call.
The Hops are great, and there's so much. even for a baby with the mascot, with all the people, with the ball flying around the field, his attention span was great. He paid attention to a lot. But the big thing, Chad, they have the berm in left field, and Katie and Nancy went out to the berm, took him out there, and that's the ticket for a baby. Get him on the ground out there, put a blanket down, let him just kind of crawl around, and somebody tossed him a little baseball, a real baseball. He thought that was the greatest thing in the world. I've got a picture on my phone now.
It's a great photo.
Holding a baseball, looking at that like, someday I would be throwing this around.
That's great, man. Props to Duncan, good-looking boy, and enjoying his first baseball game. Also, update from my kin. I just got my daughter a ticket. Got a good price on Hawaiian Airlines. She is going to go to Maui for the very first time. Never been to Hawaii.
Man.
She's going to meet my aunt and uncle, Elaine and Gordon, over there. And her cousin's also going to be there. So I think Elaine and Gordon were smart. They're like, we're going to Maui. We have our granddaughter with us. We should have Kaylee come over so that the two can play and keep each other entertained. They're the same age, both 14 years old, which is really cool. And for Kaylee, this is a big deal because she's flying solo for the first time. She's going to fly out direct from Portland to Maui, and she's got to wait in the airport for a couple of hours until they arrive. Elaine and Gordon get to Maui, so she's going to do that. And then when they leave, she's got to wait a couple hours before she takes off coming back to Portland. So I told her, I'm not worried about it at all. Like, it doesn't scare me. I just told her, I said, hey, you're now at the age where you got to start taking these other steps. And I said, one of the things you got to learn how to do in the world is navigate by yourself and be able to navigate an airport. And so she's going to get her first taste of that experience on Friday. She takes off on August 2nd.
And she has flown before. She's been on planes.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be a problem for her. It's just the signage when she lands somewhere in Maui probably would be, make sure you know where the baggage claim is and all that.
Yep.
Tell her, too, make sure you got those headphones, those AirPods, whatever she uses.
Yep.
That's a long flight. You're going to need those tunes or those podcasts, whatever it is you need.
I agree.
Yeah.
So she's dialed in there. So that's pretty good. I will say this. I'm not trying to be bitter, but I'm bitter. The weather today sucks. I'm just going to put it out there.
He is bitter, folks. Very bitter. He came in bitter, and he's even more bitter.
It's like I got up this morning to go play golf, and I haven't been checking the forecast lately because it's been great summertime weather. 5 minutes into my walk on hole 1 out at Rose City, it starts raining.
Yeah.
And so for about 4 holes, it's pouring down. I broke my umbrella, so that thing's trash. I got to throw it away. And, the hands are wet and the grips are getting wet. It's just a mess out there. Finally, the rain stopped, and it was my first time through Rose City. I am officially on a wall. Today was round number 56 since the end of Blazer season. I've hit a wall. I am absolute garbage on the golf course right now, and it's driving me absolutely bonkers. Did not play well today, did not play well yesterday. I can't remember the last time I had a satisfying round. The game is going to just drive me mad, but today was the topper with the weather. It's like, screw the rain.
Yeah.
And the people out here, they're like, oh, I love the rain. It's so nice. We have so much green.
Shut up.
I hate that so much.
Yeah.
We deal with it long enough. We should be able to get 4 or 5 months during the summertime without all this garbage.
We deserve summer, okay? Enjoy summer.
Oh, my gosh. I hate golf. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. My tee time is 6:40 tomorrow morning, by the way. So we'll see if things shape up. I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow. That's absolute nonsense. With rain, we're almost in August. Oh, let's just drop a little rain in there. I hate it, Godfather.
Yeah, I do too.
All right, when we come back, we got to find out who's going to win the national championship. Is Oregon going to win the Big Ten? Will they be in the playoff? Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews is next. All right, if you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to your calls here in a bit. I want you to go over to pick6previews.com. The 2024 season preview, both hard copy and digital editions are now available. And this guy here is making a name for himself. His name is Brett Ciancia, the man behind Pick Six Previews, and he is back. Brett, good afternoon. It's great to talk ball with you, my friend.
Hey, of course. Thanks for having me on. It's the best time of year. Appreciate that introduction, but best time of year. Everyone's undefeated. Everybody's optimistic, and we got a big season coming up. A lot of change happening in college football.
There's no question about it. That's where I want to start with you is change. What are you expecting this year with the conference realignment with two superpowers in the SEC, the Big Ten, and an expanded playoff with 12 teams?
Yeah, well, it's the 13th year I've done the Pick Six Previews magazine. It's a one-man show here covering all 70 teams. And I got to say, it's the most change I've ever seen. I mean, you have the bracket tripling in size from 4 to 12. You have it's really a shame what happened to the Pac-12. And I'm based out of Pennsylvania, but I'm one of those guys that's up till 2 a.m. watching the Pac-12 network, watching those crazy finishes. But so I'm really going to miss it. It's really bittersweet to see that go. But I think with the super conferences, you're going to see a lot of new matchups, a lot of big time moments. So pros and cons with it all. I mean, for Oregon State listeners, I don't see any pro, unfortunately. And I hope they battle back to the Power 5 landscape soon because they deserve better than what happened up there. But, yeah, so much change, not to mention the transfer portal, which, I mean, it's just crazier than ever. You have Saban retiring. It was a domino effect in the coaching carousel. So, yeah, a lot to cover.
All right, with the 12-team playoff, with the landscape in college football, do you think now we're in a place where a two-loss team can get in?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're going to see 2 lost teams all in that bracket. So how it works here, the 4 conference winners get the byes, and then from there, 7 at-large spots go out. So when you look at it, you're going to have conference championship game losers. If you make it to the title game and lose, how will the committee handle that? That might be a team's second or even third loss. Should they get in above a third or fourth place team from the conference. So, yeah, you're going to see teams. It's just numbers. You're going to see teams with 2 losses, maybe even 3. If there's some conference title upsets. So, yeah, it's going to be a whole new ballgame. And on the cover this year, I put the new 12-team bracket, and I had to sit there and really play around with it to get it to be no rematches. And I know that the committee doesn't do that. They just rank them 1 through 12 after the byes and at large spots. So there's going to be rematches, unfortunately. And you could have rematches in the conference title game and then again in the bracket. So that is one new feature. Amongst all the positives, there'll be some cons, too. Get ready for a lot of rematch ball.
Okay, Brett, I can't wait to ask you this. Give us your top 5.
Yeah, well, it's the 4 conference winners, Georgia number 1 and Ohio State number 2 out of the SEC and the Big Ten. And I think those are a little bit chalk, but they really have established themselves as the 2 superpower teams right now. Number 3, though, close, is Oregon. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on up here. It's really it's a great team. They were, a field goal away twice last year against Washington. And had the playoff been expanded last year, I don't know that Oregon would have won the whole thing. They were really strong last year, and they reloaded a quarterback with Dylan Gabriel. So Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon number 3. I have Texas number 4, fresh off of a playoff bid last year. And then Ole Miss is a surprise team. I have them number 5. This is a team that doesn't recruit the best. They're usually around 25th in the country in recruiting. But with the portal king himself, he's dominated from the transfer landscape and has signed 17 4- and 5-star players the last 2 cycles. It's an all-star team now. So that's the top 5. Now, you have to mention here the automatic bid winners would be Utah and Miami out of the ACC and the Big 12. So, the bracket would have that 1 through 4 on the conference winners, but my power ratings do not agree with that. So it's 2 different rankings this year.
We're talking with Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews here on the Rip City Drive. You mentioned Dylan Gabriel. I'm an Oklahoma fan, born in Tulsa, Brett. I'm not sure Duck fans quite understand how good of a quarterback they're getting. How much drop-off, if any, is there from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel?
Well, I think he's going to be a great continuation. He's very veteran. I mean, we talked about Bo Nix last year being one of the most veteran players in college football history, the most starts. Gabriel is right there because he started all those years at UCF, led a great non-AQ offense down there, then went up to Oklahoma and was really in the thick of the Heisman race, too, mid-season last year. He had that great win over Texas, the comeback victory, and they were poised for maybe a playoff run or a Heisman run for him. And I look for him to continue that. And what you get is some mobility from the pocket, similar to Nick's, a good arm, and a very veteran presence. So he's going to be able to continue this machine. He's got a machine around him, I should say. He's got that great offensive line. Joe Moore Award semifinalist last year. Could win the whole thing this year with 3 starters back, and Tez Johnson at receiver. You can go on and on. It's a loaded offense. Question I had was quarterback before the transfer cycle, and then they answered that with an exclamation point. I think he enters 2024 as one of the Heisman favorites, if not the favorite.
Brett, I'm curious what you think now. You picked Ohio State to win the Big Ten. They traveled to Oregon fairly early in the season. How do you see that game going?
Yeah, well, that's going to be it's going to be one of the games of the whole season, not just in the Big Ten, but in college football. And it very well could be a 1 versus 2 matchup, and those are rare to get in the sport anymore. But with Georgia facing going into Tuscaloosa in late September, Georgia might get tagged with an early loss, meaning that it could be Ohio State and Oregon. But I think that all the talk is about how how will the Pac-12 teams adjust to the Big Ten? Well, I think that Ohio State and those teams need to adjust because it's not the old Oregon. This is not the 10, 15 years ago with the flashy offense, the gadget offense. This is a very strong physical team in the trenches. First built up by Mario Cristobal and now continued with Dan Lanning with blue chip talent everywhere. So Ohio State better bring their A game. And, with it being in Alton Stadium, I could see Oregon being favored that day.
Hey, Brett, Dwight and I have been talking about this for about the last week and a half. If it's not Ohio State or Oregon, who's the dark horse team in the Big Ten?
I think the dark horse would be Penn State. I have them 3rd in the Big Ten. If you want a really, really dark horse, I would even throw Iowa in there in 5th place in the Big Ten. Both these teams have excellent defenses and both have excellent schedules. Now, this is a new feature here with the super conferences that I've noticed is without the divisions, without East and West or North and South and your common pool of opponents, these schedules are so scattered. I mean, you have some teams like Ohio State that draws the top 5 of the Big Ten, and then teams like Penn State who draws one of them. So schedule imbalances are going to really be the new storyline, along with tiebreakers come the end of the season, because you're going to have a lot of teams that finish with identical conference records, and it's going to be all about tiebreakers and head-to-head. So Penn State with a great defense. The question was on offense, but they hired Andy Kotelnicki, one of my favorite coordinators. Had a chance to talk with him again. He led Kansas, their great revival. So now he has a lot better talent to play with here. 5 stars everywhere at Penn State.
All right, Brett, I want you to haul out your crystal ball on this one. You mentioned the Beavers. What do you see in the future for Oregon State and Washington State? What's going to happen there?
Yeah, well, it could go one of 2 paths. I think the one path would be merging with the Mountain West, and either becoming a Pac-14 or just becoming an expanded Mountain West, but essentially just joining those 12 teams. And you already saw that a little bit with the schedule agreement this year. But I think the other route, and I think this would be favorable for Oregon State and Washington State, is to get the Big 12 offer. And I think that the Big 12 might keep expanding. They've already shown interest in that region, bringing in Utah, Colorado, the Arizonas. They've already gotten some former Pac-12 teams. But, with Oregon State, they deserve a Power 5 bid. They have the fan base is passionate up there. They play physical football, and they just, they've been a long-time member of the power landscape. They got to get back in there. And we'll see if there's enough seats at the table. But if these conferences keep expanding, they got to get a seat at either in the Big 12.
We're talking to Brett Ciancia. His preview is out. Pick6previews.com. Go to the website. This guy is unbelievable. Dwight and I are huge fans of Kyle Whittingham. We think he's one of the greatest coaches in the country that no one knows about, and his program is tremendous. His players love him. They've got a bunch of experience coming back. How do you see the Big 12 shaking out this year?
Yeah, well, let's start there with Utah. In 12 years of covering college football, I've never seen anything like the injury run that they went through last year. And I know you hear a lot of fans and coaches complain about injuries, but I went back and logged the stats on this. 157 games lost to injury in their 2 deep last year. So much injury, and they still grinded out 8 wins. They had some marquee wins over USC, Arizona State, and Cal and UCLA. So long story short, they get the double whammy here. They get all those injured players back, and then also the young guys last year that were called into action early, they're now veterans too. So it's a very, very veteran roster, a proven coaching staff, a really tough defense. I trust Whittingham and Morgan Scalley to win the Big 12 in their debut. Second and third place runners up, I could see Kansas State and Oklahoma State. And then the true wild card for me is UCF, a team nobody else has on their radar. I threw them in the number 25 spot nationally. I think I'm the only one with the top 25 bid for UCF, but a lot of speed down there. So that's my top four, but I'm going to go Utah here.
Interesting. Hey, how do you see Oklahoma and Texas faring in that first year in the SEC?
Yeah, well, I think that they've really rebuilt their recruiting profiles. Texas has always been a top 5 recruiter, but for the longest time, it was all these receivers and corners, and there was no strength in the trenches. But they fixed that big time. And I think they're coming in. They have a big offensive line, great quarterback with Quinn Ewers, a great quarterback pipeline going, and they're fresh off a playoff. So I think Texas is better suited to transition this year. But both of them have good long-term and intermediate-term outlooks. Oklahoma with their defense now under Brent Venables, they really needed that upgrade on defense heading into the SEC. The old Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch pair wouldn't have fared well in the SEC. Let's put it that way. So I think they're built the right way. It's just a really tough schedule for Oklahoma this year. One of the hardest draws. They got 6 of the top 8 in the SEC. So they might very well be a top 15 talented team, but they might barely get to win to bowl season with that schedule.
Wow, that's incredible. Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews here on the Rip City Drive. All right, lay it out for us, Brett. Which teams are going to make the playoff, and who's your eventual national champion?
Yeah, well, it's going to be an exciting run. You're going to have way more fan bases involved. But the way I see it, I have Georgia and Ohio State, Utah, and Miami winning their conferences. Those are your 4 bye games or bye week games. And then the rest of them will be Florida State at Ole Miss. And remember, these are on campus now. Florida State at Ole Miss. I have Alabama coming to Eugene, Oregon. That's the matchup we always wanted to see during the BCS era.
Wow.
Penn State heading to South Bend for Penn State Notre Dame. And then I have Texas hosting the final game, and that's against the non-AQ champion this year, Boise State. So Boise State heading to Austin, Texas. And now how special would those games be? You'd have playoff games in South Bend, Oxford, Mississippi, Austin Stadium, and Texas. So it would be awesome to see that unfold.
Who's going to win the championship?
Well, it makes for boring radio to call it out, but, I mean, Georgia has to be the pick right now. I know it's chalk. But when you look at their roster, there's so many All-Americans everywhere. And the thing that stands out this year, they return a lot of starters, more than usual. These dynasty tier teams usually cycle through players more often to the pros. They leave early for the pros, but everyone's back at Georgia, great quarterback. I'm picking them to win it all. I'd have Ohio State and Oregon, the close 2-3 pair there, the Big Ten winners.
All right, 2 other schools we got to know about. First off, what do you think about Jedd Fish and the Dogs?
Well, I joked in the book this year. I didn't have enough room to write about all this. 2 pages wasn't enough because you went through an undefeated regular season at Washington, an incredible run to the national title game, almost a Heisman winner there with Penix, and then in the blink of an eye, everything left. So 20 starters are gone off of that national title team roster. Only 2 guys are back. They're both on defense. So it's a complete rebuild on both sides of the ball. I do trust Jedd Fish. I had a chance to talk with him a couple years back when he got the Arizona job. Really an outlier. He came up through the game without playing football, but he has a great mind for offensive schemes and branding and recruiting. So give him some time. It's going to get back on track, but I think they're in for a big rebuilding year, similar to the year after TCU made a title run a couple years back where they lost everyone to the pros and they struggled last year. So look for a real transition year before they move up the ladder in 2025.
And what do you envision for Kalen DeBoer? How is he going to fit with Bama?
Yeah, well, when Nick Saban retired, it seemed like everybody almost just wrote Alabama off. Like, okay, that was a good run. That's all over. But now that the dust has settled, this is a really talented team yet again. There's 5 stars at every position group. And then Kalen DeBoer himself, I mean, he's proven himself at every level. D2, Indiana as a coordinator, Washington, obviously, the last 2 years. So I really think Alabama, as crazy as this sounds, I think Alabama is being slept on a little bit. So I have them actually getting an at-large bid. I have them 9th in the country in my power poll right now. And, that's a team that they might make the playoff 10-2 or something, but you really don't want to face off with them in a bracket by the time they go through all those extra bowl practices and a year of transition. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
All right, 2 more questions for you. We're really enjoying this conversation. First off, Arizona State, they're kind of my adopted children, from the Pac-12. What do you think about the Sun Devils year 2 under Dillingham?
Well, they got to bring back those Sparky helmets. I love that old logo,
Yeah.
So good.
that retro logo. But, no, with Kenny Dillingham, he's got a really tough job. He inherited a mess down there. The NCAA investigation was going on, and then the transfer portal was a one-way portal, it seemed like recently. But they have my favorite player in the game with Cam Scatterbo. He's incredible to watch. He does everything. I mean, he runs the ball. He gets in wildcat. He throws the ball. He punts even. But no, I think I see Arizona State towards the bottom of the conference. It's going to need to be another rebuild. I really like the coordinator on defense, so Brian Ward. He got great defensive play last year, given what he was inheriting. But I still think they're a year away from really competing.
How many coaches did you speak with putting this year's preview together?
30, 40, something like that. It's like,
nice.
I try and talk to as many as I can, and if I can get a coordinator, great. If I can get the head coach, even better. Sometimes both, and that's a really rewarding part of what I do, and it's great to see it come to life because you hear them talk during spring ball, you hear them talk during summer, and then when you're watching in the fall, you know it's cool to see it come to life. So and I love talking X's and O's and recruiting with these guys. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to put it together. It's been an exhausting 2024 edition, given all the change, but really excited with how it turned out. And thanks for having me on, guys.
No, Brett, you're the best. Brett Ciancia, go to the website, pick6previews.com. The digital and hard copy 2024 preview is available now. And for you Beaver and Duck fans out there, you cannot be bumping around before the season without a preview, man. Get on top of this. Brett, you're awesome, man. Keep up the good work, brother.
Thanks for the praise. Appreciate it, guys. Good luck this year.
There you go. Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews. That's a self-made man right there.
Yeah. I love that.
So good. So awesome.
And I'm telling you, to put out that kind of a magazine, online situation, the energy it takes and the kind of work it takes and the hours and hours, my hat's off to him.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
All right. So clearly what Ciancia sees, Oregon's going to make the playoff. He's got them hosting Alabama. Okay.
Boy, would that be ironic or what?
For
if
all
they
of
suffer
you
against DeBoer again?
And I know that there are a lot of losers out there who are against any type of expansion. There are a lot of people out there who didn't even think we needed the playoff, which is beyond comprehension for me.
Yeah.
If we get Bama going to Autzen Stadium for a playoff game, can you imagine how berserk everyone's going to go waiting for that game to go down?
That would be too crazy.
The beautiful part about the playoff is having games on campuses, playoff games to determine a national championship.
Yeah.
We've never seen anything like it before. This is going to be so great that people are going to just lose their minds. And the TV ratings are going to be off the charts. And then these fools are going to see how much money can be made. And guess what? We're going to expand out more.
Yeah.
12 teams is just the start. But this is beautiful. We've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for it my whole life. It's mind-numbing to think, just like we used to tape delay Monday Night Football in Portland, that there was one time in my life where we determined national championships, not on the field in college football, but through the coaches and the press who would vote based on who they thought the best team was.
I grew up with that.
It's totally insane.
Voting.
No, we're not going to determine it on the field because we can't afford for these guys to miss any more days of classes. So we're just going to vote for it.
Yeah.
That's dumb. You morons. But these idiots were so tied into the bowl games and making money for themselves that they didn't care about giving people a true national championship.
That was a corrupt situation, basically. It was.
Yeah. And then the Rose Bowl, I saw where they came out last week and they're like, oh, no, we don't want to be a part of any format unless we can have our New Year's Day game from the Rose Bowl in the afternoon. Like, come on, man. Get with the times, losers.
You're going to have a bowl game now that's even less important than it was before.
Look, I'm not against tradition. I like tradition. But at some point, you got to say, you know what? Let's go ahead and mix it up here and just move the Rose Bowl to whatever day we need to move it to host a playoff game.
Of course.
Regardless of time. Isn't that dumb?
Well, you start thinking the teams that are going to be in the playoffs, who's going to be left to play in the Rose Bowl if you're not having a playoff game?
Who cares?
Well, that's the way it's going to be.
I know.
It's going to be a who cares bowl.
Wow. Alabama at Oregon. We can dream. That would be the ultimate. Kalen DeBoer returning to Autzen with Bama.
Yeah.
Dan Lanning.
Yeah. A coach who may have their number, It might have their number.
And did you hear what he said about the Ducks? This isn't Oregon from 10 to 15 years ago with the Hully-Gully offense. It's a much sturdier physical football team.
Oh, yeah.
Dan Lanning is recruiting a different type of athlete, Godfather.
Oh, yeah.
All right, when we come back, we got to talk some Mariners, Godfather. Jerry
Good to have-
DiPoto out there making moves.
We have good news about the Mariners. How rare is that?
And they're coming off a sweep. Does a sweep against the White Sox count?
Well, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of. All right. Rip City Drive, Dwight and Chad. If you're on hold, we're going to take your phone calls. Tony and Miguel, you're coming up next. Boy, Shacker pulling out some classics. If memory serves correct, this is You Don't Have to Be a Star, and I believe it's got Billy Davis and one of my all-time favorites, Marilyn McCoo.
Oh, Marilyn McCoo.
And she was a longtime host of Solid Gold,
Yeah,
one of the greatest shows of all time.
yeah.
I mean, I'll admit it. I'm in love with Marilyn McCoo, and I have been for years. That's a spectacular lady. Also, lead singer of Fifth Dimension, too.
Right. Much better known for that. Yeah.
And she did Solid Gold with Andy Gibb, the younger brother of the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shacker. Let's go out to Tony and Boring. He was down there at Pup City at Rose Quarter over the weekend with his gigantic dog. What's up, Tony? It was great to see you, brother.
You too, brother. Been way too long since I've seen you in person, and it was great to meet the Godfather and his lovely wife Nancy, Jack, and Puppy Shots.
That's right. You got to meet Puppy Shots. He loves you already.
Ah, it's fantastic. I wish I was able to walk with you, but everything was driven towards the dogs. Like there was no water at all. I had to go to the truck, get the water, and I lost you. But Milo had his own pace, so I don't know how that would have worked out.
Well, that's okay. Puppy Shots had his own pace too, and he was trying to win the race. I'm like, dude, you're a little guy. Just slow it down. But he didn't listen. He just went fast.
He's got small dog syndrome. Well, it was excellent. Great benefit. Help put trails together for dogs. And, as I get older and a little more financially secure, I find that events that have a price tag such as that kind of keep the riffraff out and make it much more enjoyable.
There's no question about it, my friend. I'm just glad you came, and it supported a very good cause. And it was nice to be down there with all the dogs, man. It was awesome. You're the man, Tony.
You too. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the shout out, and I'll keep listening.
There you go.
All right.
Tony and Boring, my friend.
Yeah.
He's got a big dog.
Yeah, he
I
does.
could have ridden his dog around the path.
Yeah, saddle up. It was good to meet him in person. I love it when we get to meet people who call in frequently. It's kind of fun.
Let's go out to Miguel, who's somewhere around Lloyd Center. Miguel, welcome to the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. What's up?
Hey, we were talking about that rain. I'm not a huge fan of the heat, but I also don't like the rain in the summer, but it was pretty good for those fires. I'm a concrete cutter, so it wasn't any more fun today, covered in more slurry because of the rain. But I just wanted to first give a shout-out back to the company that, I ruptured an Achilles, and they were patient, took me back a couple years later, Bedrock out in Portland. I'm from McMinnville, but, we've already been talking about the college, so let's transfer over. We're close enough to the NFL too. People are reporting to camp, and one team that I'm a Jets fan, by the way. I have been since 2009.
Sorry.
Why? I don't know. Just something keeps sucking me back. But the Cleveland Browns are an interesting team to me in the AFC, just because they have one of the best quarterback rooms there, and it just makes me think. How many games with how injury-prone Deshaun Watson is, and with how much money they're paying him, they're expecting wins. And if he doesn't get them, do they get Jameis Winston? I think he can still be a starter in this league. He is their backup. Do they put him in if Deshaun doesn't start performing? Tyler Huntley is also a great. I mean, if those two go down, that's a great third option. If I were keeping it in the AFC, if I were a team like Las Vegas, I'd be trying to go after Jameis Winston to try to keep some players around my squad. What do you guys think about that?
Well, here's the issue, and I appreciate the phone call, Miguel. The issue with the Browns is, one, their ownership is just dumb. The Haslam family is filled with dum-dums, and what they did was give Deshaun Watson $230 million fully guaranteed.
And he hasn't been the same since.
No. So what that means is he's going to start because they're paying him all that cash.
I was going to say that. You can't pay a quarterback that much money and have him not start.
No.
That's just the way it works.
And he hasn't been the same, and that's because he got into legal trouble because he's a weirdo, and he missed a lot of time. And he hasn't been the same quarterback since. Then he got hurt, and they've had nothing but issues. So if he plays up to his capabilities that we saw a few years ago in Houston, they've got a chance to be a dynamic team because they're strong at the line of scrimmage. They've got one of the best defenses in football, and they've got playmakers. But it's all about Deshaun, and until I see it, I'm just not really sure what they've got there with Watson. It's very, very weird. But and not only that, but the Haslam family really ticked off a lot of owners around the NFL for committing 230 fully guaranteed million to Watson because they don't want to give away that type of guaranteed money, but also it was to a quarterback that had a lot to prove.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in a way that's what started all the guaranteed money flowing out. I mean, that contract kicked it off pretty much. They had some control over that.
I would say Kirk Cousins got the guaranteed money rolling. The Browns went over the top with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
230 fully guaranteed for Watson. The Fondler. I mean, the Fondler should not be getting that type of scratch. He hasn't proven anything. Look to the Browns, all right? All I know is like the Clippers, the Browns always wind up in the wrong spot. That's just what they are as a franchise. They are a disaster. And even when it looks good for the Browns, it's going to go bad. Ask any Cleveland fan, they'll tell you. They know how it works.
It all starts with ownership. It really does.
Yeah, the Haslam family. They can't run the Browns, and they screw up the University of Tennessee. Anywhere they're involved, there's chaos. It's not good.
Yeah.
Not good. All right. Okay, we better save it. I don't want to rush the Mariner conversation because I feel like when they do something good, we got to respect it, right?
Yeah, we owe it to them because we rip them enough. Yeah, we got to be good.
A Jets fan. I'm sorry, Miguel's a Jet fan.
Oh, and he knows how bad that is. He said he's not sure why.
Isn't our relationships as fans with teams? It's really weird because in a bad relationship, at some point, like I want a divorce. I'm out. I can't deal with this anymore. But when it comes to our sports teams, it's almost like we can't divorce ourselves from our teams that we grew up with as a youngster. It's very difficult.
Yeah, and I think sometimes those teams deserve it, and people should divorce them until they at least get things right. And I used to say that all the time to people. I would complain about teams I was a fan of. They say, "Hey, you're a fan of that team. What are you complaining about?" I'm going to complain until they get it right because I'm a real fan. I want them to get it right.
I did. I boycotted the Broncos for a couple of years because I despised Josh McDaniels. And then finally, Pat Bowlen ran his ass out of town and then hired John Elway, and I was back on board. But I had to protest because of their stupidity.
Sure.
McDaniels was awful.
Well, not giving them money for tickets or for merchandise, that's really the only avenue you have as a fan to complain about it.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. We're going to come back. We'll give you two things. One, an update on the Mariners, and it's positive. And then we get to hear from our good old friend, Jerry Jones. I don't know if he's talking about Glory Road or Glory Hole, but it's good. I know that much. It's the perfect question that was phrased to him at camp, and he didn't want to answer the question for obvious reasons. We'll play it for you. It's awesome. All right, Nights on Broadway is absolutely one of the Bee Gees' best songs. There's a lot of funk in this song right here. All right, we got to get to a couple of different things here. Oh, by the way, I was just looking out the window. It looks like wintertime right now.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
At the end of July, for crying out loud. Whatever.
At least it doesn't bother you.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk Mariners for a moment. Then we're going to get to a delicious audio from Jerry Jones. It's terrific talking about Dak. And the question that was posed to him was one that, well, based on the situation and the contract scenario with Dak, he couldn't answer it. So he did his best to get out of it in only the way that Jerry could.
Yes.
All right, so this is pretty awesome. I was just looking at the Mariners schedule, Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, as of today, it's tied up atop the AL West with the Astros and the Mariners. They do not play Houston again until a road trip, 3-gamer in Houston against the Astros, next to the last series of the year.
Oh, wow.
Monday, September 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th. 3 straight games in Houston against the Astros before they come back home to finish out at the end of September with 3 games against the A's. So you've got this long gap until we get to the very end of the season before these two teams meet again, which is going to be terrific.
Wow, and they finished the season at home against the A's?
Yes.
That's a 3-game win streak to end the season. Good grief. They'll have their bags packed with their Las Vegas fun guides there in their pocket. They're not going to care about that series.
All right, so the Mariners, we have to give them props. I was just asking the question last week, are they going to be sellers at the deadline? Because they had gone through such a funk. They became known as the first team, the fastest team in history to drop a 10-game lead in the division, 24 days to be exact. It looked like they were going to run away with the West, and all of a sudden they came apart at the seams, and Houston's right back at the top, along with Seattle now tied going into today's action. Well, Jerry DiPoto went out and got busy, and they made 3 moves that I think we all like. They have acquired a reliever in Yimi Garcia that they got from Toronto. They got Justin Turner today from Toronto, who's batting .257, clutch guy, 39 years old, good hitter, patient, and as you mentioned, great for the clubhouse. And then they made the big move to go out and get Randy Arozarena from Tampa Bay. And with those moves, we saw the offense come to life over the weekend. Now, it was against the White Sox, so I don't know what to make of that, but their bats were alive.
Yeah, I think part of that, Chad, is just knowing things are looking up.
Yeah.
Guys are feeling better about themselves, that the front office has gone and done something. And when you bring in a player like Randy Arozarena, he's a guy has gotten off to a terrible start this year. There's no denying that. He's not been a good hitter most of the first half of the season, but he's perked up in the last month or so, and he's one of the great postseason hitters. He's had some postseasons that have been unbelievable. He hits in the clutch, and he's going to give them a little bit of a spark. He's got power. He can run a little bit. He's one of those players that has some charisma. They're going to love him in Seattle, I'll bet you.
I'm wondering if his arrival could help Julio get things going.
Well, now he's, got to get healthy, too. That's the other problem. Me and Julio down by the schoolyard.
That's a great
the
song,
way
too.
Sweet Lou was talking the other day.
Down by the schoolyard. I would say you got to love it. They get someone to help out in the lineup. You get another experienced bat in Turner, and then you go out and you help by getting a bullpen arm in Garcia. And you had mentioned the bullpen been a bit of a mess during their recent slide. The starting pitching's there.
Yeah.
So now you tighten up the bullpen a little bit. You get a couple of bats to help, and you got the starting pitching, which is as good as anyone in baseball. Now, the real test is going to be this, Godfather, coming out of that weekend set against the White Sox. The next 6 games, 3 at Boston against the Red Sox, who are coming off the series loss against the Yanks, but before that they've been on fire. And then 3 games at home against Philadelphia, best team in baseball. We're going to find out a lot about the Mariners over the next 6 games with the maneuvers that they've made. Like if they could come out of that 6 like 4-2, which would be a pretty impressive against that group of teams, that'd be a good way to kind of jumpstart the rest of their season.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And Boston's not going real good right now. They're not played well against the Yankees at all. And the big problem will be the Phillies. Boy, Philadelphia is just loaded. They're the best team in baseball.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Gilbert is going to get the call tonight. That first pitch coming up here in about 5 minutes. Castillo tomorrow, and then Kirby will get the call Wednesday to close out the series against Boston. Wu will kick things off against Philadelphia.
Their rotation is so good that if they can get to the postseason, that's the kind of
team that can make a run.
Fastball, hard-throwing rotation you need in the postseason because it means strikeouts. Strikeouts win in the postseason.
All right. Are you confident that they did enough to keep them alive, fully alive for that race in the AL West?
Chad, I'm confident that they did what they could. I mean, you can't go out and totally remake your team.
Yeah.
But I think bringing in a Rosarena, and he supplies some punch. He can hit the ball out of the park. He will get big hits for you and make the plays in the outfield. And then Turner, who I assume will play first base for them, he's a good clutch hitter. He knows how to play the game. And he's probably going to have to slap some guys around in the clubhouse to get him going. But he will do what's necessary. He's a winner. He's a winner.
All right, let's shift to football now, Godfather. Props to the Mariners.
Hey, let's shift to Jarrah. Let's shift right over to Jarrah right now.
We're going to go right to Jarrah. The Cowboys got an issue on their hands because Dak Prescott is going to get a new contract.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys probably don't want to pay Dak what he's going to get, but when you take a look around the NFL at recent contracts, Jordan Love, annual average, $55 million. Tua, not at the level of Jordan Love, probably.
Mm-hmm.
His annual, 53.1. And the Cowboys have waited, and now it's going to come back to bite them in the keister. And take a listen to this question that was posed to Jarrah at camp. It's the perfect question because it deals directly with what Jerry's dealing with the contract negotiations between he and his quarterback, Dak Prescott.
Dak is a better quarterback than Jordan Love?
Well, Dak for us is I get in trouble every time I make comparisons. Okay, I do get in trouble. And of course, we saw a head-to-head match with Green Bay last year. We've all got that burr in our saddle. I'm anxious for Dak to get a chance to show he's the best with the Cowboy star on it.
And you think he can do that without a new deal?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
There's nothing better than that. That right there was a great question because Jerry, if he answers it and says, heck yeah, Dak's better than Jordan Love, he's proven a lot more. He's been in the league longer. I believe in Dak. What does that mean if he says that?
Means he's going to have to pay him more money.
That's exactly
than
what that means.
the other guy's making.
Yep. Yeah, if he says, without question, Dak is a better quarterback, right away that price tag just goes up to $60 million minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't want to say that because he doesn't want to put himself in a bad spot negotiating-wise.
Well, it also makes him look bad since he got beat by that guy in the playoffs.
I mean, Godfather, how often do we hear Jarrah at a loss for words? Like, he didn't know where to go with that initially. He's like, Dak for us. And then it's like downhill from there.
Dak is a better quarterback than Jordan Love?
Well, Dak for us is I get in trouble every time I make comparisons. Okay, I do get in trouble. And of course, we saw a head-to-head match with Green Bay last year. We've all got that burr in our saddle. I'm anxious for Dak to get a chance to show he's the best with the Cowboy star on it.
And you think he can do that without a new deal?
Oh, yes.
What
yes,
that kind of
yes. But don't. That might imply that we're not going to do a new deal, and that's just not the case. Those things change. It can happen.
There you go. He was covering all bases in that answer right there. 44 seconds of Jarrah being Jarrah.
I think he thought they were going to just run it back. Nobody gets a new contract. It was going to be a show-me season. You play well, you get in the playoffs, and you do some damage, or there won't be any extensions. He can't go that way. Can't go that route. It's not going to work.
You know what Jerry's searching for, don't you, Godfather? Do you know what he's searching for? I know what he's searching for.
What are you saying?
I think that's a part of leadership, is to have some of the guys that have gone before that have been disappointed to share it with everybody involved. For me, it's a reminder. I, too, have been here 23 years. And it is a reminder. I've been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. And so having said that, I want me some glory hole. So I have that perspective.
The laughter in the media when he said that was incredible. The poor guy has no idea what he's saying.
It's so good. There's nothing I don't love about Jerry Jones. He is a terrific human being, and he loves to talk. And I tell you what, sports would be a better place if more owners would communicate like Jerry.
God, if more owners would just talk. Please talk. Say something.
There got to be more crazy owners out there like Jerry. Maybe they're just smart enough to realize, like, I should not be in front of a microphone. My favorite story was Gavin Dawson called me and was like, dude, you're not going to believe what just happened. I'm like, what happened? He goes, Jerry was listening to my postgame show and took exception to a number of things I said and called in to combat with me. What owner will do that?
Oh, and that's...
I respect the heck out of that.
That's golden radio right there.
Jerry's like, wait a second. You said this, this, and this, and I disagree, and here's why. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And owners, when they do things like that, they win over fans.
Yeah. Yeah. More owners ought to take that path. Speak up.
But here's what's going to happen in the quarterback market, Godfather. Like, if I was Brock Purdy right now, I would feel pretty darn good about my situation. Because if he takes the approach of, I'm going to bet on myself, if he goes out there and leads them to another Super Bowl, he's going to make $65 million a year. They're going to have no choice but to pay up. Maximum dollars. Do you think the 49ers want him to be that guy so they have to pay out that type of cash? Or do they want him to come back to the pack this year? I mean, that's really what's going to happen because if they let him play and they don't give him a deal now, and they're probably going to let him play, he's probably going to go out there and play well, and they're just going to have to pay out of the nose to get him. 60-plus mil. That is incredible to me. It is a great time to be a quarterback. And that's why teams like Denver, any of these teams with the young quarterbacks, you got to capitalize now before you got to pay out big time. I mean, Patrick Mahomes' contract is looking more and more like a bargain every day.
Yeah.
$55 million for Jordan Love. I love Jordan Love, and I trust the Packers organization. They've proven that they have a track record for being able to find guys. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love. But, dude, he played like half a great year and won a playoff game.
Yeah.
$55 million.
That's all it took.
Okay, we'll come back. We got to talk 49ers. We're going to head down to San Francisco, and we'll dive into 49ers camp. What's the latest with Brandon Ayuk? What about this Brock Purdy potential deal that's coming? How much is he going to get? Any injuries at camp? Evan Giddings, 95.7. The game is up next. All right, our next guest is doing a heck of a job in San Francisco at 95.7 The Game. And he joins us once again here on the Rip City Drive. It's Evan Giddings. Evan, it's great to talk ball with you, my friend. A week into camp, what is the top story with the 49ers right now?
Glad to be on. Hope everything is well up there in the Pacific Northwest. I would say right now it has to do with the holdouts or the hold-ins. It has to do with Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams. What's going to happen when or if they're going to get paid. I think that Trent Williams is probably priority number one. And interestingly enough, he is the holdout. He is not at training camp. And then the hold-in is Brandon Ayuk, and I'm not exactly sure if he's going to get paid or if he actually does indeed want to fall through on his request to be traded a week and a half ago. So I'd say that's the biggest story right now. What's going on with those two players, two impact players, two all-pros, and how that impacts the Niners moving forward.
I know last week John Lynch came out and said the intention was to keep Brandon Ayuk. I could make the argument, or could you make the argument, that Ayuk at his age and his ability might be more valuable to the team long-term than Deebo Samuel?
100%. But the issue kind of becomes, how valuable is a player in a particular system? I think that oftentimes we have that conversation with basketball players. How does a certain player play under a certain head coach, or with other football teams? How does a quarterback look under an offensive guru? Are they in a bad situation? I think Brandon Ayuk is clearly a better prototypical wide receiver, but to the 49ers, Deebo Samuel to me is more valuable. He just doesn't have value elsewhere because he's kind of a do-it-all gadget type player. And he's such a threat in what he gives you in the run game and in the passing game that I think to the 49ers, he might be more valuable than Brandon Ayuk. But moving forward, how long is that style of football going to last, especially if you're considering who you'd like to pair Brock Purdy with long term? His contract is coming up next offseason. I don't have any reason to believe that they wouldn't pay him next offseason. So would you rather pair Purdy with Ayuk or Deebo? I think long term, the answer is clearly Brandon Ayuk. He's younger. He's more sturdy. He's been on the field more. But if you're asking who's more essential to trying to hoist a Lombardi trophy, to win the Super Bowl this upcoming season, in which the window becomes increasingly smaller, I think the answer is Deebo Samuel. So that's kind of the question they're wrestling with. Is it now or is it long term? And I think that right now Deebo is more valuable than Ayuk.
Okay, Evan, tell me, what do you see as the easiest solution, the most possible thing to happen to sort of resolve this thing with Ayuk?
Well, this is what we've been kind of tossing around a lot here is I think you either got to basically be okay with him holding out and not being available, because I think that's the next and final step for Ayuk. If you're not holding in, then you got to hold out. And he's doing it right now to hold in just to avoid fines. But I think the Niners have no reason to budge. It just comes down to money. And if you're Ayuk, I think he is going to eventually give in and take the dollars that they've been presenting him behind the scenes with. The first report and the last, I think, big one that we have is $26 million per year. That puts him right between Devontae Smith at 25 and Amon-Ra St. Brown at 28 per year. I think he's going to be eventually inclined to take that number as opposed to go somewhere else. So I think that's what eventually ends up happening. But the question is, what's the residual effect? Him missing time in training camp, valuable reps. Does that mean Ricky Pearsall, their first-round receiver, is going to get some options, going to get some looks early in the year? Is Brandon Ayuk going to be in top form? Is he going to be injury-prone? These are all residual effects that are kind of succumb to, that players can succumb to after missing time. I just feel like eventually they get this deal done. I just don't think it happens relatively soon, because the other big literal obstacle in the way is Trent Williams. And I think he deserves to be paid before Brandon Ayuk does, even if he's already under contract.
We're talking with Evan Giddings, 95.7 The Game in San Francisco. With Trent Williams, I mean, he's one of the best players in football and one of the most valuable players on the team. Just a great left tackle. I can understand where he's coming from. He looks around and sees the money being doled out, sees McCaffrey get more dollars. He thinks, wait a second, I'm more valuable than anybody on the team, so I want to get mine. Like, I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we had Mark Schlereth, who I know you're very familiar with, Chad, being a Broncos fan. Talked to him earlier today on our show on 95.7 The Game, and he said that Trent Williams is perhaps one of the best offensive linemen in the last quarter century. And he might be one of the best football players in the last 25 years. So even at age 36, you're going to pay that guy. And the issue with him, similar to McCaffrey before, about a month ago, is that Trent doesn't have any guaranteed money on his deal. And it's kind of hard to justify not having, to your point, one of, if not your best impact position players without any guaranteed money. So they have to rectify that before they can do anything with Brandon Ayuk. And I'm assuming that's why they're trying to get that done as quick as possible. I think it's very likely that both of them end up on the team, but to have all of this, kind of me over we storyline floating around camp, it's just very interesting because that's something we haven't really had with the Niners before. They haven't appeared to be a franchise that is infected with the disease of me, but because of the looming quarterback contract beyond this season, I think everybody's trying to get and cash in their chips right now.
Yeah, that brings up Purdy, and I'm kind of curious. There have been stories floating around about his potential value, Evan. But after the deals with Love and with Tua, what do you think Purdy's value is and what it might be a year from now?
Well, based on the way the cap is moving, it might sound crazy, Dwight, but Brock Purdy's a $60 million quarterback. Yeah. I mean, that's just that's what he's looking at right now. That's what the market says that he is based on what Love got. And I think more importantly what Trevor Lawrence got, because I think he also got more total guaranteed money than either Love or Tua. They all make around 55, but he got more total guaranteed money. Brock Purdy, to me, is a significantly better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence, and his resume says that he's significantly better than both Jordan Love and Tua Tagovailoa. So the only thing he hasn't accomplished at this point in his career is, an All-Pro and a Super Bowl. That's pretty good for a guy who's played pretty much, one full season. So to me, he is a $60 million quarterback until he proves otherwise, and I have no reason to believe, assuming they bring back the entire cast around him, that he's going to be any worse than he was last year. He might take a step back statistically, but as far as the type of quarterback that he's shown himself to be so far, he's going to be looking at perhaps a $300 million paycheck over 5 years, and he could get even more than that, according to some.
All right. How do you think the team's approaching with Purdy? If they see one more year of high productive play like last year, they'll have no problem giving him the new deal, and if he takes a step back and isn't the quarterback he was last year, then they'll reevaluate. How do you think the team's going to approach it?
I mean, I kind of threw this out today. I feel like, let's say, worst case scenario, hypothetically, Brock Purdy, God forbid, tears his ACL tomorrow. He's out for the entire season. I still think that they pay him because of how good that he's been his first 21 games as a starter in the regular season, and then his first 6 starts in the postseason. I mean, he didn't lose a game for crying out loud up until, late in, I guess it was week 5 in Cleveland. And the only real playoff game that he's lost, that he's finished, has been in the Super Bowl. So even if he went down with a season-ending injury, I still think they're inclined to pay him big dollars just because there's been nothing else to dissuade you from doing so. Even if he takes a step back statistically, like, for example, Patrick Mahomes, his first season in 2019, has had his best statistical season. I think he threw 50 touchdowns. He had 5,000 yards. He was the MVP. And then he won a Super Bowl later. He's won 3. But he hasn't been, as far as a regular season quarterback, as statistically good. But he's gotten better, as everyone has seen, because of his surrounding cast being a little bit lesser. He's obviously a better, caller at the line of scrimmage. He's a better quarterback. So I think Brock Purdy has a chance to be better as a quarterback, even if his numbers aren't the same gaudy, ridiculous stats that put him in the top 5 MVP running last year. So I'm not sure really what there is, unless he, turns back into a pumpkin, and ends up looking like, the final pick of the draft. I don't really see an avenue in which the 49ers don't pay him. The question is how much.
Yeah, the longer they wait on that, the more it's going to cost them, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, he's to me, and this is the other part about it too. So you look at this quarterback class this offseason: Love, Tagovailoa, Lawrence. You look at the next quarterback class, there's really nobody that deserves to be paid. So in a way, you know, you look at like Brock Purdy's draft class. I think the next most productive quarterback is Kenny Pickett. The 2021 draft class, the best quarterback was Trevor Lawrence. No one else in that class is getting paid. So Brock Purdy doesn't have anybody else to dictate his market. He's the one that gets to say what I am worth. And as a quarterback by the end of his third season who's going to have made less than $3 million, I'd imagine that he would want to recoup that. And I don't think he has a reason to cut the 49ers any slack. He's going to get and demand every single penny possible. And because there's no one else to dictate his market for him, I have no reason but to believe that he's going to reset the quarterback market.
Hey, Evan, I followed Ricky Pearsall closely when he was at Arizona State. Love his game. I know he's been banged up. Is he all set to practice tomorrow?
Yeah, so he actually got on the field for the first time today. They activated him. He wasn't involved in any contact drills, but he was officially activated off the non-football injury list. So that's another part of the Ayuk aspect too. You know, if Pearsall looks really good, granted it's in training camp and there's no live bullets, but if he looks that good, well, I think that gives the 49ers even more leverage to say, hey, Brandon, we're not going to budge off of our number. And it's not like we're not trying to give you what you deserve, but this is how we remain a competitive franchise and keep you around both now and long term. And if you don't believe that that's what you're worth, or you believe that you can get it somewhere else, well, then we got this first-round pick that we took just in case that happened. I think they personally took Pearsall to replace long-term Deebo Samuel, but if push came to shove, Chad, it's Brandon Ayuk that his head might be on the proverbial chopping block.
Yeah, tell me who's going to be the backup for Purdy. Do you know yet, Evan? Has that been pretty much decided?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's been decided yet, but for the 49ers, I think they brought in Josh Dobbs to be that guy. Now, he hasn't looked very good, but they also have Brandon Allen behind him as the third-string quarterback. But yeah, right now, as of now, the official second-string quarterback is Joshua Dobbs.
Wow. What's the conventional thought down there in regards to their new defensive coordinator, Nick Sorensen?
I think they like him. They've kind of combined coordinator hats, so to speak, along with Brandon Staley, who I certainly have my thoughts on as a head coach. But I think as a schematic kind of guy, I think as a coordinator, he's been pretty successful with the Rams and then going back even with the Bears. So Nick Sorensen is someone that I think Shanahan has more trust in than he did with Steve Wilkes last year, just because there's more familiarity. There's going to be less complications. They did a lot last year defensively, despite having a ton of talent. And I think it worked to some extent. I mean, they had a great defensive performance as a whole in the Super Bowl, but Kyle Shanahan needs to have trust in that coordinator, I think, for this team to go at its full strength. And he just never clearly had that with Steve Wilkes this year, even if the defense maybe takes a step back in terms of personnel. You know, they lost Eric Armstead. They're going to be without Dre Greenlaw for a period of time coming off the Achilles tear in the Super Bowl. But I think having the trust in someone like Sorensen is going to make sure that this defense is humming at a high level. The thing that's interesting is that Kyle Shanahan told the media a couple of days ago, I think on Friday, that he was actually trying to get Bill Belichick to come in and be the defensive coordinator. So he's made some calls. It wasn't like Sorensen was his first choice. He tried to go out and get the Hall of Famer in the hoodie, but Bill Belichick respectfully declined.
Evan Giddings, 95.7 The Game, is with us here on the Rip City Drive. Evan, keep kicking ass and taking names, my friend. It's great to talk with you. We'll catch up with you again soon, and thanks for giving us a good 49er update. You're the man.
I appreciate it, guys. Anytime. You guys are my dudes. Thank you so much.
There you go. Love it, man. Love Evan Giddings. You guys crushing it.
Always.
Official member of the CIP School of Broadcasting. Man, if I'm Trent Williams, I am not showing up until I get some guaranteed money.
Sure.
He's too good and too valuable to be sitting there with no guaranteed money left on his deal.
No kidding.
Especially at that age, at 36, still playing at a high level. It's like he knows what everybody else knows. You can't win a championship without me protecting Purdy's blind side. So pay up, and he'll take priority over Ayuk or anyone else on the roster because of his value. He really is a great, great football player.
You know, it's really all coming due for the 49ers. All these contracts sitting there like an axe over their neck, you know.
It is. And that's why
They missed their chance. I mean, 2 years ago, injuries killed them, really, at quarterback position.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year, I mean, they could have won a Super Bowl. They were there. So anytime you're there, you can win it. They're going to regret not picking up one by now because that window's going to close. They're going to have to make some tough calls.
The urgency for them to win it this year is, I mean, it couldn't get any more extreme.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be the same after this year when they start having to pay the quarterback, number one, and everybody else. It's not going to work. So they got to take care of business now. And they had their chance. They had the Chiefs dead to rights, and they couldn't get the job done.
Yeah.
And they allowed Mahomes to sneak back in and get it done. They couldn't come up with the key plays against Mahomes a few years ago. And you and I talk about this all the time. The assumption by a lot of good teams is made like, oh, we'll get back.
Yeah. Good luck. A lot of times you don't.
Yeah. You got to capitalize when you have an opportunity. And the 49ers had an opportunity last year, and it slipped through their fingers.
Yeah.
And they put Mahomes back on the field. And what'd he do? He won the game because he's Patrick Mahomes. So we'll see how things shake out. But, yeah, it looks like Brock Purdy's on pace to be a $60 million quarterback, which is insane because I don't look at Brock Purdy and think, man, he's worth $60 million. I think that's crazy talk, but that's the market.
He's next man up in the market.
Yes. And he can just look. It's not hard for the agent. Tua got 53.1.
Yeah.
Jordan Love got 55. Purdy has a better resume and is a better quarterback than both those guys. So the starting talk, 65.
Yeah. No, it's like no negotiations needed. Here's the figure. Here's what you'll pay.
You know what's crazy? I got to look this number up again because it just kills me. And I know it's got to kill these guys. Let's see here. Career NFL earnings. I like to do this because I'm a nerd. Elway, my favorite. Hall of Famer, back-to-back Super Bowl winner, retired. 16 years in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
His career earnings over that 16-year span, $47.44 million.
Yeah, that's funny. I was going to say like 35. Yeah. That's well, he's not hurting, that's for sure. And he got some money out of him later in his career by moving into the front office.
He may have made more as a front office exec than he did a football player.
Entirely possible. Yeah.
Joe Montana.
Oh gosh. I hate to even think of this one.
In his career, this is insanity because he's one of the greatest things I've ever seen on the football field. $25.5 million.
No, that's not even one season in today's game.
That's bad. That's really bad.
Inflation.
In 23 years, Tom Brady, $450 million.
That's pretty good.
My, how things have changed. Elway played 16 years and nearly died playing football.
Yeah.
$45 million. Now, he did well for himself in the car market and in the executive market. So he's been able to cash in, but that's the money now. Brock Purdy's going to make more in 1 year than Elway did in his entire 16-year career. It's hard for me to wrap my dome around that one.
Elway and Montana combined didn't make what he's going to make in 1 year. That's crazy talk.
It reminds me of what my dad was telling me the other day where he's looking for a new truck, right? And these trucks are now stickered at about 60 to 70,000. He goes, Chad, he goes, I can't wrap my mind around paying more for a truck than I did for our first home. He goes, that doesn't compute in my mind.
It reminds me of the conversation I had with my dad. Dad, what did you pay for this house that I grew up in? It seemed like a lot at the time. $10,000.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back. And, you know, can Steve Kerr stop being so soft? I respect Steve Kerr and think he's a great coach, but this pussyfooting around with the players is driving me crazy. It's just got to stop. You're Steve effing Kerr. You don't have to kiss these guys' butts all the time. Stop it. I think I'm just going to spend the rest of my life with one mission. I need to listen to one Phil Collins song per day, at least one.
I don't think that's outrageous at all.
He's got a unique voice, doesn't he?
Yeah. By the way, Aaron Judge hit number 38 today.
Judge hit 38.
Yeah. And then Jazz Chisholm launched one himself, their newly acquired outfielder who they're going to play at third base.
Who, Chisholm?
Yeah, Jazz Chisholm.
That name
Got him
sounds
from
funny
Miami.
to me.
Yeah.
Chisholm.
Yeah, it's the old Chisholm Trail.
Oh, my goodness. Where were we? Crap.
He's playing third base today. They said they might do that. All right. They've had trouble getting to third baseman.
All I can say is Aaron Judge is freaking awesome.
Oh, my gosh. He's a monster. He's hitting over 300, too.
I just love Aaron Judge. He's one of those guys where I look at and I'm like, I'm like one of those cartoons where like the hearts start popping up above my head. Like,
yeah.
I have a crush on Aaron Judge. I admire him so much. He's the one guy, and I didn't know it at the time, that could take over for Derek Jeter as the captain. Like, he fits the mold perfectly. He's everything you want in a superstar. There's nothing I don't love about the guy, and he mashes.
He's like a Paul Bunyan playing baseball.
He's a
just
giant.
Bigger and stronger than everybody else out there.
Dude, when I was in New York a few weeks ago, watching that guy BP.
Oh, you got there in time. That's a good move. Get there to watch him take BP.
We did. We got there early for the crappy tour. If you're going to Yankee Stadium, do not take the tour. They suck.
You had to pay the price for getting there early.
Arrogant clowns. Arrogant buffoons. Oh, we're the Yankees. They take you to two places, and next thing you know, we're in the bleachers watching BP. But the ball, you're right, it just comes off his bat differently.
Yeah.
He's hitting the ball much harder than everybody else.
Yeah, even the sound is different when it comes off his bat.
It just sounds different. I love everything about him. And the Yankees are starting to come around after a big slump. They went through a Mariners-type slump, and that race down the stretch between the Orioles and Yankees is going to be awesome. Awesome, Godfather. What do you think about that race? Do you think Baltimore will come out on top? How do you see it cracking out, shaking out?
Baltimore's still trying to make a big deal to land a number one starter, and we'll see. If they can do that, they'll still win. But their pitching's weak. They've had a lot of injuries to their staff. If they don't make a deal to land a number one starter, the Yankees are going to catch them, I think.
I'm still trying to wrap my mind around guys like Jordan Love making 55, Tua making 53.1, and Brock Purdy potentially making 60+. That's just goofy money to me for guys who are good but not like elite. It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, well.
Gosh.
Yeah, there's a lot of NBA players that aren't primo players making a lot of money too, right?
Guaranteed, too. Once it's signed, it's in the books.
All of it's guaranteed.
There have been some real bums who have gotten away with just robbing the league blind.
Yeah.
What'd you do for that contract? Nothing? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Who was that bum center that got a bunch of money a few years ago from the Lakers? Timothy Mozgov. What's that guy ever done? He got paid. Mm-hmm. There's so many guys making huge money. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What'd you do? How'd you get that money? What did they see in you to give you that type of scratch? It's ridiculous, man. Must be a good life. I should have been a bum. I'm not even good enough to be a bum NBA player because I have no athleticism in my body. I suck. Just give me some of that money.
And the funny thing is, nobody thinks anything now about signing a deal for $20 million a year. I mean, stop and think about that. $20 million a year for 4 years? Holy cow. I mean, none of the great players of the past got that kind of money. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Yusuf Nurkic got that.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Really?
I heard the interview last week with Charles. I think he was talking with Dan Patrick.
Yeah.
And he said that when the first player in the NBA got $1 million, he and Cheeks and Dr. J were all high-fiving each other because they knew what that meant.
Yeah.
That things were moving in the right direction for players. Who was that guy? Oh, I can't think of his name, but he had a weird perm. He played for the Atlanta Hawks. John Koncak. I think he got like a big contract back in the time, and he sucked balls. He was an absolute scrub, but he got like some type of $1 million deal, and people were like, what in the world's going on here? John Koncak.
He became a joke because even after he left the game, his contract kept getting traded because there was so much money on it, you could trade that contract out and get something back for it.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something about basketball players. If I see a guy with a perm, like a perm, wavy in the front, perm in the back, I'm out. You're done. You cannot be a good basketball player with a perm. I'm sorry. That's pathetic. I never liked that guy, Concac. I'm like, what's up with your hair, man? He couldn't play, and he got that type of money. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Guys have been doing that for years, getting over and getting paid and not doing jack for their teams. Not doing a darn thing. They're in a contract.
Yeah, especially bigs always got those contracts because how many people are that tall?
You need a wide body.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk little Team USA. And what's up with Steve Kerr? Every time they win a game, he's got to come out and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that LeBron didn't start the second half. I can't believe Tatum didn't play. He'll play in the next game."
I felt like an idiot for not playing him.
Gosh, shut up, Kerr. Your job as coach of Team USA is to put the best team on the floor in the moment against your opponent that you think gives you the best chance to win. You don't have to apologize or explain yourself to anybody. You're filled with stars, your team.
Anybody who signed up to play on that team had to realize, you know what? I'm not going to get a lot of time because there's a lot of great players on this team.
Gosh, Steve Kerr does not have to tippy-toe around trying to make sure he doesn't hurt feelings. Steve Curry's won multiple championships. Your job is to do whatever it takes to win gold. And if that means that LeBron's got to sit a half or Tatum doesn't play because you've got the team on the floor that you think is best, that's your job.
It makes Steve Kerr look like a wimp.
It does. It's so pathetic, man. And by the way, Kevin Durant, I don't know what it felt like to be him in the first half, but that must have felt good.
Yeah.
He was on fire.
Yeah.
I guess he's okay. Man, he's unbelievable. And he drives me crazy because he's one of the best offensive players I've ever seen with my own eyes, but yet he's soft with always having the rabbit ears. It drives me crazy because he's so good.
Yeah.
Again, I'll ask the question, why does someone like Kevin Durant, who's so good and have so much money, worry about what some moron in his mom's basement says about him?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Joey in the third row has been yelling at me, I need to get a security guard.
Can you get that guy out of here? It's like, come on, man.
He's probably the greatest Olympian basketball player we've ever had. What he's done in the Olympics has just been incredible. He'll be the first guy to win 4 golds, too, I think.
Well, Steve Kerr, I guess, can keep apologizing all the way to a gold medal.
Yeah, they should win for sure.
Oh, their talent level.
Yeah.
They showed it yesterday. They just got too many guys. And if they get one guy hot, one thing for certain, I don't know if it will continue, but anytime you shoot near 60% from downtown, that's going to lead to wins.
Yeah, 17 for 30 from 3 is good enough.
We shot 60%, better than 60% from the field, better than 55% from downtown. Game over.
Ridiculous.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. When we come back, we will talk some Olympics. Celine Dion was money. I think Godfather's happy with a peacock. And what are some of those off-the-cuff sports that you watched in the Olympics? We'll get to that next. And then a Bo Nix update coming up at 5:20.
Of course.
Well, I'll tell you what, Godfather, a lot of people love the idea that Brett Ciancia predicted from Pick Six Previews, Alabama at Oregon
Yeah.
in the expanded playoff. That would be delicious.
Yes, it would. That'd be so much fun.
Is Shacker trolling us by playing Summertime with the weather being what
Yes,
it
of
is
course
at the
he
end of
is.
July?
Yes.
Summertime. I got to find my golf game, man. I suck balls right now. That's all I can say about that. It's just been like a 1 month drought. A drought. And I don't know when it's going to end, Godfather. What a maddening game. What a maddening game golf is. It's so hard and so frustrating. And yet, when you're playing well, nothing feels better. Nothing. And all I find myself, I'm like a drug addict. I'm searching for crispy contact. The feeling of transfer with crispy contact, when you swing the club and you smash the ball, when you put the wrath of God into a golf ball, it's addicting. And I need that in my life. And right now, the crispy contact it's like an elusive mistress. It's like, where are you? I need you, but I can't find you. Come back to me, baby.
It's so incredible that even in the same round, you can experience so much disappointment and joy all in the same round. I mean, I'm playing really well most of my round last night. Last 2 holes, I was terrible. And I walk off feeling like, God, am I going back to this again? Is this what's going to? It's like, come on now. You just played pretty well for most of the round, and you're going to get worried over the last 2 holes?
I wanted to lie down today and have Glenn, one of my playing buddies, take my eyeballs out with my 60 degree. Here, just use my face, practice on my grill, please. Just do something to take the pain away. Anyways, that's where we're at there. Let's talk some Olympics, Godfather. Right now, I think you told me that you're having great success with Peacock.
Yeah, I am, Chad.
How so?
It's I've always been disappointed in Olympic coverage because they never show what I want to watch, meaning they cut into basketball games all the time and show me fencing or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I never liked that. But, you can not like streaming services all you want, but the one thing they have is bandwidth. I mean, you go there. They have everything in the Olympics on the Peacock website. Everything. Anything you want. Now, it's hard to find sometimes. You might have to use their search button to find it. But look, I was interested in watching Rafa Nadal play doubles. Alcaraz is his partner. The number 1 player in the world right now, most likely. And so they're playing doubles. I watched that. I found that. And then he was playing his singles match yesterday. I found that one and watched that. And today, I understand he lost to Djokovic. I haven't seen that one yet. Probably tune into that, watch a little bit of that. But anything you want, you can find there. So you're not a slave to the network's choices of what they think you should want to watch. To me, that's progress. That's kind of the way we need to be able to dial up what we want to see on television.
Well, I'm definitely not going to pull up a match to see the Joker get over my guy Nadal.
Yeah, I know.
That's annoying.
It's
really annoying. I love Nadal. He's amazing. I decided over the weekend that Agassi is my number 1 all time. Nadal is number 2. Those are my top 2 favorite tennis guys ever. Number 3 would be McEnroe. So there you go. My top 3, Agassi, Nadal, McEnroe.
Yeah.
Those are my 3. And
Yeah,
my
I can't
favorite
argue with those.
female tennis player of all time is Graf. She was amazing.
Really?
Yeah, I love Steffi.
Oh.
She was terrific. All right, what else? Do you watch, are there any off-the-cuff Olympic sports that you enjoy tuning into? It doesn't sound like fencing is one of them, but is there any, I'll check out the beach volleyball. That's got some appeal to it, but is there anything for you that you check out?
Chad, it used to be softball. I loved Olympic softball. I actually covered some of it in Atlanta and really liked it. And I'm kind of a softball fan. And, of course, baseball, they cut both of those out temporarily in the Olympics, so they're not around this year. They'll be back, though, I understand. After that, I would say, I kind of like men's volleyball and men's beach volleyball, both. The men's beach volleyball, nobody watches. They love the women's volleyball, basically to watch
beautiful people playing volleyball.
scantily clad women playing volleyball, I guess.
Yeah.
But I watch those. I enjoy those. I kind of like the swimming. Gymnastics, yeah. Some.
Why are you so on the gymnastics? I watch. That's my favorite, and the reason why is because I can't believe what they can do. I
Yeah.
love watching the women flip around in the air. It's dangerous, and yet they make it look easy. I don't understand how they can do that kind of stuff.
Well, Chad, part of the reason is the judges. Sports that don't have real scoreboard outcomes.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's one of the worst things
Very.
about the Olympics. Anything that's subjective, where you get these judges from different countries who, it's like boxing.
Yeah.
Give me the knockout, but don't let it go to the judges because
Yeah.
you know someone's about to get screwed.
Yeah. No, we need a finish line is what we need. Cross a finish line first, and then I'm happy. So, and I'm going to watch a lot of shot putting this year. I watch the 100 meters because it's always like the world's fastest human, and we're favored to win both men's and women's. I'll watch those.
I'm excited about flag football coming.
Yeah.
I'll check that.
Yeah, there should be some great former NFL players playing in that. I sure hope they get involved. It's like, that's the other thing I like watching, team handball. Everybody here in the U.S. thinks that's handball, hitting the ball against a wall like you play at the Multnomah Athletic Club. No, it's a team handball thing like basketball. It's really a lot like basketball. And we don't send out good teams because we don't get, our great athletes are kind of unaware of the sport. Rick Abrahamson, former Oregon Duck basketball player, was once captain of the U.S. team handball team, a great team handball player, but no one noticed because nobody notices that sport in the U.S. It's fun to watch, though, and we need to get some of our former NBA players involved with that.
Former Sun Devil and Denver Bronco Jake Plummer is really good at handball.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Like, really good.
Yeah.
I've never played handball. I played racquetball with the old dudes up at the health experience.
Yeah, you're just using a racket instead of your hand.
I would prefer to use a racket instead of my hand. What can I say?
Yeah. But golf's coming up, too. You know, I know Olympic golf is kind of different.
Yeah, but DeChambeau's not in there, is he?
No, live golfers aren't invited.
That's dumb. I'm not watching. You're not putting
Totally.
DeChambeau in there. I got time for you.
Yeah.
I hate that. You're not going to give me DeChambeau? Really? You're not going to give me Bryson? Those are the people I want to see.
Yeah, you got to send your best.
Okay. All right. Well, we know that Team USA is not going to have any problems. I've seen enough of them to know that they're going to win gold. They're not going to get knocked out, are they? Highly unlikely.
It's unlikely, but it's possible.
Who's going to do it then? Who would be the likely team?
Any of those top teams, Canada, Australia is always good for some. I mean, Patty Mills goes into that thing every single time and looks like a Hall of Famer. I mean, he plays so well for his country. It's unbelievable.
And what else do you watch? Oh, Celine Dion. I didn't realize she was going to be a part of the opening ceremonies.
Pleasant surprise.
And I'm a big fan of hers, and I know about her story. And what is it she's suffering with? She's had issues with her singing voice. Do you remember the name of that?
Something like stiff person syndrome.
Stiff person syndrome?
Yeah, it's where it's a very rare thing where I think your muscles tighten up. It's and she wasn't able to perform in front of an audience for quite a while, but she handled that perfectly. Man, she was good. Can you find it? That may not be quite the
stiff person syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
What's it say, Chad?
SPS is a rare syndrome that rapidly develops neurological condition mostly affecting the brain and spinal cord. Celine disclosed in June that she occasionally experiences sudden spasms when singing or preparing food at home. All right. But all I know is that this has been pretty traumatic for her.
Yes.
Because she hasn't been able to perform.
Yeah,
that's what she
withdrew
is
from
great
her-
at.
Yeah, she had a residency in Las Vegas. She had to withdraw.
But she's getting rave reviews from her performance at the Olympics.
Yeah, it was flawless.
And she was singing in French.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, that's really good.
Well, she's, I think, French-Canadian, right?
Yeah, I think originally from Quebec, I want to say.
Yeah, probably.
Let's see here. What did Nancy think about that?
Oh, she loved the performance, and That was one rare disease. She kind of had to research that a little bit.
Oh, she didn't know what it was?
Well, I think she'd heard of it, but she wasn't quite sure the symptoms and all because she'd never run across it. It's so rare that, it's not something that you expect to see.
Le ciel bleu sur nous.
What a voice.
That's remarkable.
And as I recall, she was singing in the rain on a platform about 25% up on the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, and you could see it. I think the piano had, big drops of water on top of it. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, she's awesome. She is awesome.
Yeah, that was...
Her voice, she was created by God to sing. It's pretty simple.
Voice of an angel, right?
Voice of an angel.
Yeah.
That was good. My mom enjoyed that. She likes to listen to Celine sing. And, she's one of those, we talk about some of those divas, Tina Turner, Celine Dion, Whitney Houston. You could throw Cher into that category. There are certain women, when they step on stage to sing, their voice is different than everybody else. Special.
That's funny you brought that up. I watched on YouTube the other night, David Letterman had Sonny and Cher on and talked them into singing together.
Yeah.
After they'd been apart for a long time.
Yeah. I've seen that episode, and it was awesome.
So good. It was unbelievable. And they both really, she didn't really want to do it, but once she got into it, they both seemed to really enjoy it. And that made the whole thing so good. It was fun. I'd forgotten how good they were.
I'll tell you what's good, too, was that variety show that Sonny and Cher did for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal.
Didn't they have the Smothers Brothers on? Isn't that where they got their own show off being on that show, I think. It's been so long, it's hard for me to recall. But they had some pretty good guests on their show.
What's amazing is that she's dating someone who's 37 years old.
Well, I can see it.
Can I ask you a question, just between you and I?
Yeah. Yeah, just between you and I now.
Could I handle one night?
With her?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably. Yeah. I think you could.
Do.
You'd have to relax on asking her to sing to you, though. I don't know how much she'd want to
I wouldn't ask her anything. I would just do whatever she told me to do. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, probably the wise move. Yeah. What a talent, though. Became a outstanding actress.
That movie, was it called Mask?
Yeah.
With, who's the guy with the stash? I think he's from Oregon. What's the guy with the stash? The cool guy.
Sam Elliott?
Yeah, I think he's in that movie.
Yeah.
Mask. That was a great movie. Cher's a great actress.
That was a good movie. You're lost in your own thoughts.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what that would go like. Yeah. I just want a shot. Give me one shot, man. I'm just saying.
It's possible.
Now,
She's still out of your league.
Now, didn't he die from crashing into a tree skiing? Is that true?
He hit a tree skiing downhill really fast. That'll do it.
Yeah, she's got a great voice. I may need to go back and watch that David Letterman again. That's really good.
That's a great episode of Letterman. Back in the day when Dave had that old show late at night, that was really, really good.
So good. I like Bono, too. He was cool. All right, we'll come back.
Became the mayor of Palm Springs.
That's right. That's right. Good. I remember that. Okay, we're going to come back. We got a Bo Nix update for you. We're going to hear from Bobo, and we'll let you know where the quarterback competition between two guys and a dork standard in Denver. We'll give that to you when we come back. It's so important for students to have the tools they need for a successful school year, and to that end, we have partnered with our friends at Lazy Boy for the annual Stuff the Bus School Supply Drive. Now through August 19th, donate a backpack or 10 miscellaneous school supply items at any of the 6 local Lazy Boy locations, including Salem and Eugene, and you'll receive up to 25% off on your Lazy Boy purchase. Some exclusions apply. The Salvation Army will distribute your donations to local families in need, and as always, we thank you for your generosity. Get more details on the community page at z100portland.com. Well, I tell you what, Godfather, I can't believe that we're already a week into football camp. 1 week in. And we're going to have football on TV here in the very near future, which is nice.
Thursday night, right? Hall of Fame game?
Hall of Fame game is coming up, and camps are here, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch the Broncos preseason just because we'll get a chance to see Bo Nix play, which is nice, and I think that's a good starting point here. Let's get to our Bo Nix update, Shacker. All right, here's what I know about the Broncos quarterback competition a week in. Right now, Jared Stidham is the leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Ahead of Bo Nix.
As
and of
expected,
course,
right?
Yeah, I think so. Ahead of Zach Wilson, of course, who they say it's a three-man competition, but it's really a two-man competition because Zach Wilson is not going to emerge. But I don't think there's any surprise. The advantage that Stidham has is, one, he's played in actual NFL games. Two, he's been in the league longer. Three, he knows the offense and the terminology and the language, having played for Sean Payton last year in Denver.
Yeah.
That gives him a major edge in terms of being able to run the offense. Now, the one thing that I do know from the guys I've talked to in Denver, and I like this, that what they're seeing from Stidham thus far is a more conservative approach to running the offense, meaning he's checking it down. He's not taking any chances downfield. He's taking what the defense is giving him, and as a result, he's not making the mistake. Keeping the chains moving, taking what the defense is giving him, but no wow plays because he's not testing the defense, trying to get over the top and taking any chances downfield, which is interesting to me because the rookie Bo Nix, it's been the opposite. You would think the experienced guy would take more chances to attack the defense, but Bo Nix has been the one to be more aggressive with the football. I think that's a very good sign that you have a rookie who's comfortable in his own skin, and when he sees an opportunity to make a big play, he's not hesitating. He's like, no, it's there. I'm going to make the play. And he delivers the football. And I think that's a good sign for a young quarterback because, yes, you do want your quarterback to protect the football. Yes, you do want him to be mindful of what the defense is doing and what the offense is being presented with so he can, keep the chains moving. But you know as well as I do, chunk plays are what it's all about in football. And you want to be aggressive at times when it's the right time to be aggressive, whether you make the play or not. And the fact that Bo Nix is doing that tells me that he's in a very good spot right now as he continues this competition and gets ready for his first preseason game.
Yeah, I think if you're the coaching staff, you would prefer that. You would prefer a rookie doing that. That's the only way he's going to learn. How else is he going to learn?
I agree.
Push the envelope whenever you can just to find out where that envelope is at. How far can I go with this? And I think that's how he learns. And being conservative is not going to win any job for him.
I agree. Let's take a listen to Bo Nix. This is after the practice on Saturday, and he was asked about competition and also, those red zone situations.
Yeah, every year since high school I've been in a competition, but I think when you look at, the red zone and being, what's the risk versus what's the reward, and thanks, Alex. And a lot of the times you go per play, and sometimes down and distance means a lot, and coverage dictates a lot, but it's all about being confident, and sometimes you do take a risk, and sometimes it doesn't work out for you, but those you minimize and you learn from. But at the same time, you don't want to be a gun-shy quarterback. So no matter what, just have great confidence in the plays and the players and go out there and execute it. And if it's not there, then check it down. But it's also about experience, and you see looks that you like, and then you get to come back to. But sometimes it's not a good look. You just check it down, go to the next play.
It looks like you're having fun out there.
Oh, it's a blast. The NFL is a lot of fun. I'm so excited to be here. I'm a part of a great team. We have a great culture, great staff. It's hard not to love, where I'm at right now, but also not complacent. So the joy and the enthusiasm you see on the field, it's all about, what can I do to make this team better, no matter what position I'm in. And so that's, I think, what's my greatest joy is that I get to go out here every day make a team better. And that's a lot of fun. And I think we all have that mindset, and that's why we're going to, have a good football team.
You mentioned that you're no stranger to quarterback competitions. So
say it again.
You mentioned that you're no stranger to quarterback competitions. What is this one like?
Well, this is the first one in the NFL, but they're all competitions. I mean, every day, no matter what stage you're on, you're in a competition with yourself. And so I think as I move forward, no matter what year, whether, I've had experience, whether it's my first time this year or whatever, I'm always competing with myself. And I think if I compete with myself at a high standard, then no matter, who's around me, they're going to get, my best. But at the same time, competing with yourself it's a daily quest for success. And I think, if I achieve my personal best, then I'm not only doing the team a favor, but I'm doing those guys that are competing against me a favor because they're getting my best. So that's all I can do, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. And competition is the main point of life. So that's what I enjoy doing.
Last one.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty good for a rookie, right, Godfather?
He knows just what to say. I love the one line. Nobody likes a gun-shy quarterback. You're right. They don't like those guys that are scatter arms and too much of a, gunslinger, but they don't like gun-shy guys either.
No. His teammates definitely don't.
Yeah.
They want a quarterback that's got the confidence to step up and make the big throw when he has to.
Yeah. Yeah,
no receiver wants to play on a check down offense.
No, you can't be afraid of an interception, especially if it's 50 yards down the field.
And sometimes this happens. You can make the right read, the right throw. And, oh, by the way, Champ Bailey or some other great that you're going up against is going to pick it off. It happens.
Yeah.
Some guys just make a play, but your mentality is like, no, that was the right read. I was doing the right thing. I'll do a better job executing next time. I like the mindset. One other thing I want you to hear from Bo, more insight from him in regards to his position on the team.
Yeah, you've been a starter since you were a freshman over for a long time. How badly do you want to continue that streak of being a starter? And would you be acceptable to being a backup for a year or two in the national?
Well, I don't know if I have a choice on that one, if I accept it or not. If I want to stick around, I better accept it. But I also don't necessarily want to become complacent and say, you know what, it's my rookie year. I'm okay with sitting back and hanging out and learning. I have full confidence and trust in these coaches and this team. They'll play me when I'm ready, and I'm going to do my best to get ready. And so that's all I can do. But I also think you owe it and respect the other guys who are in the competition. They also want to be the starter too, and they also, are going to have to accept what happens. So it's not an easy thing, but at the same time, we're all mature, and we've all been here, done that before. And so whatever they decide, that's what we're going with. But, we're all just giving it our best right now.
Wow. It's pretty good.
He's a smart kid.
He's like, hey, I don't have any say in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Going to have to be good with whatever they do with me.
Yeah. Would you accept being a backup? Well,
I don't have a lot of choice, right?
If they tell me I'm the backup, I'm the backup. You know, what else can I do? I love that. Bo Nix is everything you want in a young mind. The way he handles himself, the way he communicates, the way he leads his team. Now it's just a matter of getting on the field and making plays.
Yeah, now the hard part. He's got to be the quarterback.
Because you can be a guy that doesn't communicate well. You can be kind of an a-hole. Teammates don't even have to like you. But if you make plays and put them in a position to win and make money, they're going to respect you no matter what.
Yeah.
So he'll be the perfect combination because if he makes big plays and shows the type of toughness we saw at Oregon, his teammates are going to play. They'll play their asses off for him because of who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be pulling for him. They want him to succeed. And I think the teammates know he's the answer. It's not Jared Stidham or Zach Wilson that if Bo Nix is everything that Peyton thinks he is, he's their meal ticket to get to where they want to go.
Yeah.
That's why it's got to work out.
Yeah.
That's why I would make the argument that you might as well start him off week 1 in Seattle. I don't care if Jared Stidham's got a couple of inches on him in the competition. So what?
It's all about the upside. He's got more upside.
And I'd tell Jarrett that, hey, Jarrett, we love you as a backup, but he's got the higher ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Simple. We picked him pretty high in the draft.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, they got to start Bo. Get that ball rolling now. Get the ball rolling now because you know what's going to happen. If they start Stidham, Stidham's out there, and he knows it's just a matter of time until he gets replaced because he's not going to play well. He'll lose games, and then Stidham. And then what? You're going to put Bo in 5 weeks in, 6 weeks in? You're trying to tell me that 5 or 6 weeks is the difference between Bo being ready to start and not being ready to start? No, you just get him on the field and play him through the difficulties. He's got the makeup to be able to handle that type of pressure.
Well, and every mistake he makes is a learning experience. You think he's not going to learn? I think the intelligence is obvious. He's a smart guy. He'll be a smart football player. So you need him to make mistakes just to learn his lessons. They all do. All these guys have made their mistakes.
All right, I want to play this because it's phenomenal audio. Jim Harbaugh is already in vintage form. Let me just tell you this. Jim Harbaugh, he's difficult now. Wait until they get midseason when the pressure's cranked up and an injury report comes out and he starts getting questions. He ain't going to reveal jack. It's not going to happen, Godfather. Jim Harbaugh is a one of a kind. You've mentioned it before. He's not normal, right?
No, he's not.
Not close to normal. And with that, I don't even know how you communicate with the guy. I really don't. I don't know how his family members communicate with him. I don't know how his coaches communicate with him. Like, he's just a different dude.
I think he's one of those guys. There's some days you just don't want to go near him. Stay away.
All right, so here's the deal. At practice, one of their key players, Rashawn Slater, he left the field because he was hurt.
With the trainers,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And here's how that conversation went down after practice. Of course, if one of your top players gets dinged up or hurt in practice, someone's going to want to know what went down. Here's how Harbaugh chose to answer that. Now, keep in mind, he already compared camp to being born and coming out of the womb. I didn't follow him on that one, but he believes it.
Yeah.
Here's Harbaugh. This is how you wait till the injury report during the season comes out.
There's no injury there with Rashawn.
It's not something that's he wanted to keep playing, so
Little thing.
Huh?
It's a little thing.
I don't know. I'm not going to categorize it. I'm not going to categorize it what it is or what it is not. I'm just telling you, you're going to see quite a bit of that as we go through this first stage.
With Rashawn, though, we saw him leave practice yesterday, walk into the facility with trainers, and then you and Joe went over
You
and
saw
had a chat
JK, you
with
saw
Mark.
Khalil. I don't know if did you see?
Yeah, I saw Josh Palmer, Hayden. But so Rashawn is the same as those guys, or it's a different situation?
Yeah, I'm not even categorizing it. I'm just saying just the exact words I use. You can just. That's what I'm saying.
So Rashawn not practicing today.
You're going to see more of it. You're going to see quite a bit of that from the starters.
Was it part of the plan for Rashawn not to practice today? That was part of the ramp up that you're talking
He said, "Hey, I got something here. I want to keep playing, but I need to take a look at it. No, we're going to take you out and move into the weight room and do some work there."
And one more. You mentioned
abundance of caution. I know you haven't heard that term since the pandemic, but it applies to this stage that we're in right now.
There you go. That's Jim Harbaugh not answering anything about the question about Rashawn Slater.
Yeah. Just wait till the league makes him reveal all those injury reports.
Well, it's going to take him a bit of time to get back up to speed. He's used to college where he didn't have to give off anything.
Yep.
But now in the NFL, they require injuries to be declared clearly.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, it's camp, and you don't have to declare anything yet because games aren't being played.
Yeah.
That's how that goes down. I love Harbaugh. I think he's a phenomenal coach, but he's a wackadoodle. He's a weirdo. Dude, people are going to want to know about Rashawn Slater. He's one of the more important pieces on the team trying to protect your shiny quarterback, coach.
Yeah. Old Jimmy, though, he's
I don't want to categorize it.
Yeah, I'd like to categorize him as just maybe a little bit over there in the crazy category.
I mean, don't you think he's the crazy one of the family? Like his dad and John are normal compared to Jim, right?
Yeah,
but the dad's kooky too.
His dad's a little bit.
How did
off.
John turn out normal when Jim and his dad are kooks?
I think it was like one of those deals where, oh man, I don't want to be like Dad.
I don't want to categorize it. This is so painful.
There's no injury there with Rashawn.
It's not something that's he wanted to keep playing, so
Little thing.
Huh?
It's a little thing.
I don't know. I'm not going to categorize it.
He's not going to categorize it, Godfather. Now, we do know that Slater's back at practice after, quote, a mystery injury.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't serious, why can't he just say it's like it wasn't serious?
Well, the whole idea that
Or if it is, maybe if they thought it was serious, he could say, we're not sure.
Yeah. He wanted to keep playing, though, as if every injured guy at that level doesn't want to keep playing.
Boy, a couple of beauties. And more of this is going to come to. Here, once again, here's Jerry Jones being asked the perfect question. Because right now he knows he's going to have to pay Dak, and it kills him. It kills him that Dak's going to make about $60 million.
Dak is a better quarterback than Jordan Love.
Well, Dak for us is
He's not going to categorize it.
I get in trouble every time I make comparisons. Okay, I do get in trouble. And of course, we saw a head-to-head match with Green Bay last year. We've all got that burr in our saddle. I'm anxious for Dak to get a chance to show he's the best with the Cowboy star on it.
And you think he can do that without a new deal?
Oh yes, yes. But don't that might imply that we're not going to do a new deal, and that's just not the case. Those things change. It can happen.
I think that's a part of leadership, is to have some of the guys that have gone before that have been disappointed to share it with everybody involved. For me, it's a reminder. I, too, have been here 23 years. And it is a reminder. I've been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. And so having said that, I want me some glory hole.
No.
So I have that perspective.
And he's standing up there wondering what they're laughing at.
And we appreciate your perspective, sir.
Okay, Jera.
That's a great question. Do you think Dak is better than Jordan Love? He didn't even answer the question.
No. Well, he gets in trouble when he makes comparisons, Chad. Don't want to get in trouble.
Don't categorize, Jera. I would have asked him, what's better, Dak or Glory Hall?
You'd have been thrown out of that thing.
No, he would have invited me on his yacht to crack open a couple of coldies and chill with him. Glory days.
Yeah. Shacker's all over it.
You love the boss, don't you?
No. No.
All right, this one's for you, Jera.
There's no injury there.
All right, Godfather. You got any high fives you want to hand out?
Yes, I got one big one for the folks up north. The Seattle Mariners get my high five. Finally pulling the trigger on a couple of pretty good moves.
It is pretty cool they did something. Fan base is revived.
Yeah.
The clubhouse is revived.
Yeah.
And now they've got some tools to work with to keep themselves in contention in the AL West. Because if they would have done nothing, it was a sinking ship, brother.
Let's go. Let's go.
3 in Boston, then they come back home for 3 against Philadelphia. That's a good stiff test right there.
Yeah, it is.
I think Philly, I agree with you. They're the best team in baseball right now.
Yeah, they're tough. Good pitching. And they hit the ball out of the park.
It never works out the way you think it's going to work out because baseball is a weird sport. But I really want a Dodgers-Phillies playoff series. That'd be fabulous.
Yeah, it would.
Star power.
But I know you're always looking for that Yankee-Dodger World Series, right?
We need it, man. See, I'm not totally against tradition. I would love to see a Yankee-Dodger World Series. Can you imagine the ratings that thing would get?
Yeah, it'd be good.
And then the dumb commissioner could take credit for, the ratings and everything.
Yeah, maybe the good sign would be he would retire after that.
He's not going to do that. I think he enjoys the fact that knowing that you're frustrated with his leadership in the game of baseball.
He also enjoys the millions and millions he makes every year.
Do you think the owners are satisfied with his work?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. They don't. The owners, all they care about is making money. Let's face it. We know that. They don't care what he's done to the game. He's done some damage to the game. I'm sorry, that ghost runner on second base, I'm sorry, but that's just no good.
That's dumb.
If you don't like extra innings, leave. Listen to the rest of the game on the radio on the way home. No problem. The people who like it, they'll hang around.
Or turn off your TV and go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Not that hard.
I mean, I'm not going to watch a regular season game in the middle of the week that goes into 18 innings. But that's not the end of the world.
No.
Most people aren't.
Yeah, but that's okay.
But putting a ghost runner on, I mean, that's just, you're cheapening the game when you do that.
Yeah.
That's not cool. What is this, Little League? Why not give the guys T-balls, tees to hit off of in the extra innings?
Yeah, it's like Little League softball or something. It's crazy.
It's crazy stuff. Oh, whatever. What's the weather going to do tomorrow? Well, let me just check and see what I'm in store for tomorrow.
Yeah, now don't leave me hanging on your high five, too. Don't forget that.
Oh, my high five?
Yeah, I don't think you
Celine
said it.
Dion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That performance was amazing.
Sure was. Yeah.
Am I uncool to think that she's cool? I'm down with her. I think she's a nice lady.
Yeah, I think so. I do think Cher's going to be a little disappointed she didn't get your high five tonight, though.
Well, if she gave me a shot at the title, I would give her a high five. I'd give her everything. Everything that Chad's got to offer would be on the table for her.
How old is she?
77. There's nothing I wouldn't do to her, Godfather. Whatever she wanted me to do, I would do it. She just needs to know. I mean, I've already thought about this. I run scenarios in my mind of different things that could happen, or what if I came across this situation?
Mm-hmm.
If I were in a situation one-on-one where I just happened to bump into her, right? And I tried to bump into her at Motor Center one night when she was there, but I couldn't see her. I was doing a Blazer pre- and post game at Moda when they were on the road, and Cher was at Motor Center that night doing a show. So I stooped around the bowels of the stadium, hoping I just might run into her, but I couldn't.
She has security to protect her from guys like you.
I went in with that assumption, and that's probably a smart play.